And at that training on July 26th, again, there was nothing specific to kidnapping anyone, correct?
Correct.
No training to kidnapping politicians, correct?
Correct.
And July 26th is the last training you ever did, Mr. Bella, correct?
That is correct.
So after July 26th, you never trained with him again, correct?
Correct.
July 27th, Mr. Beller sends out a message, and he sent it out on Bonfire, is that correct?
Through wire.
Through wire. He tells everybody he's leaving the state, right?
Yes.
He's going to South Carolina to live with his father, right?
Yes.
He's gonna stack up some cash, correct?
Yes, sir.
Go back to school, get his EMT certificate, correct?
Yes.
Try to get a job with the fire department, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And in fact, he does leave the state of Michigan, correct?
He does.
When he leaves the state of Michigan on July 27th, from July 27th all the way until August 18th, you do not speak with Mr. Bella, correct?
Correct.
August 18th is when there is the warning from Paul regarding the police coming to his house. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Agent, please bring up exhibit. When this message he sends regarding the police searching his house on August 18th, Adam Fox is not a part of that chat, correct?
He's not.
Barry Croft is not a part of that chat, correct?
That's correct.
Pete Musico is not a part of that chat, correct?
Correct.
Joe Morrison's not a part of that chat, correct?
Correct.
Sends it out. He says, "Hey guys, police been at my house. I think I'm going to go off social media for a while. You guys, you might have a mole, whatever, something along those lines. Is that fair?"
I believe so, yes.
You go to page. Yeah. Get that more below the black box, the small black box.
Lower corner of the same.
I'm sorry, the left side.
Left side.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, just right in that little area in between the two black boxes. Yeah, right in there. This is what he ends up doing. Do you agree? Well, not completely, and let me be fair with the question, okay? He says, Doc, wayward, that's Brandon Concerta.
Correct.
He says you've done nothing wrong, though. They could have just been fishing. Your neighbor kind of knew what you were about, and your roommate saw. They could have just been casting the line to see what they can catch. You agree that that's what Brandon Concerta said?
I do.
And then Doc, which is Paul, correct?
Correct.
Says, exactly. We haven't done anything illegal or wrong. They're probably just pissed because we're not open to the public like the rest of the cliche militias around. They're just sniffing their noses around, most likely. That's what he said, correct?
That is.
This is August 18th, correct?
Yes.
Paul's been gone since July 27th, correct? Or thereabouts.
Thereabouts, yes.
There's been no communication between you and Paul at that point, correct?
I can't recall it, no.
And on July 27th, when Mr. Beller leaves the state of Michigan, there's no plan in place to kidnap the governor, correct?
No believe so, no.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't believe so.
Getting back to July 27th. July 27th, when Paul is sending out the message to the group, I'm leaving, I'm going back to South Carolina. You had a meeting with Adam Fox that day as well, correct?
On what day?
The day you went for a taco dinner, July 27th. You recall that?
Yes.
Okay. It's just you and Adam Fox, correct?
It is.
You guys go back to the back shack.
We do.
You have a conversation?
Yeah.
Paul's not there, right?
It's not.
It's the same day he's let everybody know he's leaving the state of Michigan for good, correct?
Correct.
You and Adam Fox have a discussion on that day, and that's when Adam Fox is starting to tell you that he's changing direction from the Capitol to going after the governor, correct?
But he was still going after the governor. But
Okay.
as home addresses, yes.
Gotcha. So now he's wanting to actually start moving towards the plot to kidnap the governor. Is that fair on July 27th?
Yes.
And like I said, you don't have a plan or anything in place at this point, correct?
Didn't have a plan, no, but it was always a gift of political violence throughout it.
Okay. From August 19th, other than the message from Paul regarding the police sniffing around his house, you don't talk to Paul or see Paul again personally until the takedown in October, correct?
Correct.
Ghost group that you talk about, I'm sorry, shadow group that was put together on July 7th. You've testified numerously that was Paul's group, right?
It was, yes.
You testified a couple times that Paul's group is the one that went on with Adam and then ultimately went on with this plot to kidnap the governor, correct?
Correct.
You didn't pick that group?
I did not know.
Did you go to the hearing on 2/28, February 28th? Could you go to page 33 for me, please?
Page again?
I'm sorry, 33 of the, that one there. We're gonna go page 33. We're gonna start at line 3 through 16. You with me?
I am.
So the question, and I think you testified on more than one occasion at the preliminary exam that the ghost group that Paul set up is the ultimate ghost group that linked up with Adam Fox and the ultimate plan to kidnap the governor. Do you recall testifying to that?
That's right. I did, yes.
Question, and out of this ghost group, you took Ty and Dan Harris. Answer?
2.
Right. Question, to further up north with Adam Fox for the operational plan to kidnap Governor Whitmer. Answer?
Caleb Frank as well, yes.
Question, okay, so you took 3 of them out of that group, Caleb Franks, Dan Harris, and Ty Garvin. Your answer?
Yes.
Further on in that hearing, same hearing you've got, if you can go to page 49 for me. We're start on line 6, page 49. You with me?
49, line what?
Line 6, I'm sorry.
I'm there.
Okay, cool. Question, and from July 7th to the end of July, he goes to a training in Wisconsin, Mr. Beller, right? Your answer?
Right.
9, question, he goes to training on July 26th when there's no plans in place, correct? Answer?
Right.
Okay, line 12, question, and he leaves the state on July 27th, right? Answer?
Right.
Question, you stay in contact with this group, correct? Answer?
I do.
Question, you actually take people, introduce them to Adam Fox again, and he selects these individuals from Paul's group to ultimately be the operational group up north. Your answer?
From Paul's group, yes.
My question, from Paul's group, the one that he gave the mission statement about being defensive and not black bagging politicians, correct? Oh, it looks like there's no answer that goes in there. So you agree, you selected these 3, correct?
They were with Paul's group and they knew what was going on. So yes, they went with myself.
They were from Paul's group, they knew what was going on, correct?
Or yes.
We have a meeting on July 7th where Paul creates this group, correct?
Right.
We have Paul definitively saying we are defensive, not offensive. We're not going to be the aggressor, correct?
To one individual, yes.
The group is all there when he's saying that, correct?
One person contested what they heard Adam talk about.
Okay. Let me ask, so he talks to one person, everybody's present, right?
Yes.
Paul makes it unequivocally clear, the mission statement of this group is to be defensive, defend ourselves or defend someone else.
Judge, he's been over that testimony a half dozen times. I mean, he keeps going over the same testimony about what Paul said about, I'm not about black bagging politicians.
Well, Judge, when he keeps saying over and over again that it's Paul's group, and I'm getting there because I want to show the jury, July 7th, the group is created with a mission statement. They go to Wisconsin. They don't talk about the QRF or do anything as far as Paul's shadow group. He comes back. They go to one training on the 26th of July. There's no training whatsoever about kidnapping a governor or doing anything. There's been no showing that that mission statement is anything other than what was said. And then he leaves the state for good on July 27th. So that's why I'm reiterating with him. He's saying it's Paul's group. I'm reiterating the one that was created with the mission statement of being defensive. That's all.
Council's right. Everybody's heard it time and time and time again.
In fact, it was actually Adam's group. You remember testifying to that you classified this shadow group that ultimately wrote them as being Adam's group? Do you recall testifying to that?
I do, yes, they merged in with Adam.
Yeah. And again, that's because you introduced them to Adam, correct?
They went with me to Adam. We were invited to go to Wisconsin. That's where they met Adam.
Could you go to page 189 of the preliminary exam transcript, the one that took place on Friday, March 4th? We're gonna start on line 19, page 189. I'm there. With me? Question. And that's because your group has now started to put into motion up north the plot to kidnap the governor. Get the governor. Answer.
It was Paul's group that got sent up.
Question. Paul's group got sent up?
Yeah, it was not my group.
Question. Paul's ghost group is the one that got sent up to kidnap. Answer. We're on 190 now, second line.
We went to Wisconsin, and out of that, Adam was picking individuals that was done.
Was down.
Was down. Sorry.
We say the answer is we went to Wisconsin, and then out of that, Adam was picking out individuals that was down, correct?
Correct.
And then I said, and then your answer to that?
To go up there, so that way it would have been Adam's group.
Question. It would have been Adam's group? Answer.
That's correct.
Question. Not Paul's?
Not Paul, with Paul not being there, we pulled people out of that. Yes, that is correct.
With Paul not being there, we just pull people out. That's correct, right?
The group that you started, yes.
After Paul leaves on July 27th, you continue on with this plan all the way to the takedown. Correct?
Maintained accessibility for the FBI with Adam, yes.
You stayed in contact with the players, correct?
Did.
You knew what was going on, correct?
I was monitoring their conversations, yes.
Absolutely. You were relaying back to them from all the way to the takedown of the individuals that had plotted to kidnap the governor, correct?
Correct.
And again, after July 27th, Paul wasn't there, right?
That's correct.
You got a phone call with Adam Fox on August 9th of 2020. Do you recall that phone call?
I do.
Paul is saying, I'm sorry, not Paul. Adam is saying we need to get a plan in place because there's no set plan in place, correct? Do you recall him saying that on August 9th phone call?
No, I can't recall.
You could go to page 50 of the transcript from February 28th, 2022. I'm sorry, page 50.
Thank you.
Lines 3 through 19.
I'm with you.
Okay. Question. And again, this is a hearing where you were under oath, correct?
Yes, sir.
Question. After that time, there's phone calls with Adam on August 9th where you're talking about putting a plan in place. You're talking, is that correct? August 9th phone call with Adam Fox. You recall that?
I believe so, yeah.
Question. Paul was not present for this phone call, obviously.
No.
Say no, it's not, I don't know, it's I don't, and the answer is no, not I don't know, but no is an answer, like yes, no, correct? Question, you're talking about getting a plan in place, because at that point, there still was no set plan in place to do anything, correct?
Correct.
Question, and in that phone conversation, you're making it clear that you guys have to train, and I believe Adam is talking about, quote, we need to eat, sleep, and shit this training to prepare for this, unquote. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
So the plan is now coming to fruition on August 9th, correct?
Correct.
And it's clear from that you guys got a long ways to go with your training, correct?
Correct.
August 29th, you start the surveillance of the governor's summer homes. That sound about right?
I attended surveillance. I didn't start it.
You were part of the surveillance group. Is that fair?
I was.
That didn't happen until August 29th, correct?
Correct.
And that was surveillance up at the governor's, where was it?
Her northern residence.
And prior to that, I think you and Adam, or was it Adam? Who was the one that got a hold of the realtor?
A realtor?
Yeah, to get the plans of the house. Remember any discussion about somebody getting hold of a realtor?
I do. Adam was wanting to obtain a realtor to get blueprints.
Right. This is happening in August, right?
Not sure on the exact date for that.
Well, it was after Paul left, correct?
It was, yes.
So now you're doing the surveillance up north. I think there was talk of water surveillance, correct? At some point, and I'm not talking August 29th, I'm just talking generally now.
Yeah.
Water surveillance, right?
Correct.
You guys were looking at bridges to see what you might be able to blow up to slow down the response times for law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
Paul never dealt with explosives in your group, correct?
No,
In fact, Paul was deathly afraid of explosives, correct?
it was not about explosives.
You're driving by the house. I think you're shining lights to show where the house is from the water, right?
On a separate surveillance, yes.
Paul's not there for any of that stuff, correct?
No, he's not.
None of your training with Paul included surveillance of people's homes and stuff, correct? Your training.
No.
None of your training with Paul included filming stuff, correct? Filming homes, right?
Correct.
None of your training with Paul included going to realtor.com to find layouts of people's homes, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, every training that you did with Mr. Beller, it was never laid out to signify the state capitol, correct?
I believe so, no.
And also, you believe yes or no?
It was not.
And also, at every training you went with Mr. Beller, it was never laid out to signify the governor's home, correct?
Training far as,
The training, the layout of the layout of how you laid things out.
no, it's for breaching building structures, multiple room structures, hallways.
Adam Fox had hand-selected, strike that. Do you know who Eric Molter is?
I do.
That's Adam Fox's medic, correct?
One of his medics, yes.
One of his medics. He had a relationship with Adam Fox as recently as June 20th at the Bat Shack meeting, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Because he actually brought Eric Molitor up, correct?
He didn't.
And Eric Molitor is a member of Adam's group, correct?
He was, yes.
And he's a medic, correct?
Yes.
And he was with Adam Fox throughout this entire planning and surveillance up north, correct?
He was present, yes.
And he was part of the operational team, correct?
Yes.
And he was Adam Fox's medic, correct?
Medic, yes.
On September 15th of 2020, you get contacted by Joe Morris. You recall that?
On what day?
September 15th of 20.
Yes.
Get contacted by Joe Morris, and he's asking you if you left the chat. Recall that?
Vaguely, yes.
Vaguely? Let's, if you go to page 189 of the preliminary exam transcript. Page 189, please. And we're looking for lines 1 through 10.
I'm there.
My question is, okay, and on the 15th of September, so 10 more days after this, you get contacted by Joe Morrison asking if you left the chat. Do you recall that?
If I left the chat. That was the answer.
Yep. And I said, correct. And then your answer?
That sounds correct, yes.
Question. And your response to him was, nothing was going on. Things have been crickets for a while. We do more on here still, got me. Do you recall having that conversation with him?
That
Answer.
sounds like a yes.
Question. You would agree with me, crickets means there's nothing going on, right? Answer.
On wire at that time, there was no communicating thing going on.
And question. And then your answer.
Just seeing Joe communicating on various Facebook. Undescribable.
So September 15th, you are now with Adams Group, correct? You've plucked some members from Mr. Beller's group, correct?
Fuck them. Went to Adams Group.
I think you just read a transcript a minute ago that you
From what I
picked
said.
them, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you again. You selected Ty Garvin, Caleb Franks, Brandon Caserta from Mr. Beller's group, and you got him with Adam, correct?
Judge, can we tone it down a little bit?
No, it's getting pretty loud. Just a little bit.
Okay, is that correct?
Yes, they went to Adams Group.
You took them to Adam, correct? Thank you. All didn't take them to Adam, right?
No.
In fact, at that time, Paul had met Adam Fox on June 18th, first time at the protest, correct?
Again, Judge, he's asked and answered that
I'll move
question
on, Your Honor.
3 or 4
I'll
times.
move on.
I'm gonna start writing more.
Yeah, that's
Repetitive
fine, because
question.
we have heard some of this stuff over and over again.
So you agree with me that you were a part of this investigation from March 2020 all the way until October of 2020, correct? Correct. Agree with me that you were in constant contact with any and all individuals affiliated with the plot and or plan to kidnap the government, correct?
Yes, I was in communication.
You were in communication. You were training with them, correct?
Was.
And at no time did Mr. Beller ever engage in any of your training, correct?
My training?
Your training after July 27th, when you got with this group, correct? You left the Wolverine Watchmen the first part of August, correct?
Yes. I was still in communication with them.
You're still in communication, but you left them, right?
Yes, we followed more of Adams Group.
Okay. When you left them, you took Ty Garvin, Brandon Caserta. Your Honor, I have to
No,
lay this.
he's going over the same ground. I mean, I don't care how you slice it up. I mean, he's asking the same question 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Yesterday, this morning, this afternoon. He is.
Is there something new here you're trying to get at?
Your Honor, I'm gonna ask my last question right now. You were in this investigation, March 2020, all the way till October in the takedown, correct?
Correct.
During that time period, you were with the Wolverine Watchmen, correct?
Correct.
Then you slid into Paul's group, the Shadow Group, correct?
Correct.
Then you left the Wolverine Watchmen, correct?
Correct.
Then you slid in with Adam Fox's group, correct?
Yes.
And then you stayed with Adam Fox all the way until the takedown, correct? And as on September 15th, Joe Morrison didn't even know what the heck was going on, right?
I don't know if he was in communication with that.
Well, he said crickets, right? You said crickets.
It was quiet. The crickets were pertaining to on wire. Yes.
So, Dan, the only common denominator in this entire case is you, right?
Following the group, yes.
I have no further questions.
Counsel?
Dan, let's start out with the document I had marked as 282 we talked about this morning. Your service to our country has been called in question, and I'm gonna hand you what's been marked as proposed exhibit 282. is that a copy of your DD 214, the separation document that a person receives when they leave service in the military?
Yes.
Okay, the, would you work through us, just a little bit there, the different commendations that you received?
It's under Title 13, the decorations, medals, badges, citations, and campaign ribbons. Army Commendation Medal with V device, with Valor. Commendation Medal.
Okay, can we stop there for just a minute? That's the one I want to focus on. That's the Army Commendation Medal with the V device, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain what that means?
With the V device, the V is for valor. So you are awarded that for heroism and in direct combat with enemies.
Okay. And the only way to get that is if you're in direct combat with the enemy, correct?
For the V device, yes.
Okay. The Army Commendation Medal, can you tell us a little bit about why you received that?
It was just a recommendation for that my company, either commander or platoon leader put me in for the award for how I was performing under or maintaining my duties.
Okay. The Army Good Conduct Medal, what's that?
You're awarded that for every 3 years of good term service. So without getting reprimanded, as council has stated.
The Global War on Terrorism Service Medal,
We were at the time under, that was the campaign, Global War on Terrorism.
the Iraq Campaign Medal with Campaign Star, what is that?
That was deploying to operations in Iraq.
The Army Service Ribbon, Overseas Service Ribbon. Tell us a little bit about that.
Again, deploying to overseas theater.
And finally, the Combat Action Badge, what is that?
That badge is awarded for being present in with enemy combatants, so in actual combat.
Move for admission of 282.
And
I would have no objection if it's the whole thing. That's just the front page.
Is there something that he knows that he thinks there's something missing?
I'll ask him. When you had,
No,
when
no,
you,
the witness isn't his right now, Judge. I mean, I moved for the admission of this
I'm
document.
objecting unless it's the whole document, not just the front page.
And what evidence does he have that if there's anything else?
Do you want me to tell, can I tell the court?
I'm
When you-
directing my questions to the court.
When you,
is there more to the exhibit?
No.
there is. Because when you get a DD 214, you also get a, your separation paperwork. And in that separation paperwork, it talks about what you get counseled, you get, like what programs you get. And he doesn't even have one for the DTPA, which is the disabled, the disability. I wasn't expecting this, Judge, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I saw it and I want the whole document in, because when you leave, if you've got a disability, you get counseling on what programs there are available
So
for
is
you.
Mr. Kirkpatrick testifying?
You asked me why I wanted in, I'm telling you.
No, you know, I mean, who knows if this is correct or not, Judge? What Mr. Kirkpatrick is offering. the
Well,
court.
first of all, I take exception to that because I have the integrity of the utmost, would never do such a thing. Secondly, I've got a copy of the entire document, and I would also not come before this court. And he asked me, I asked, are you sure you want me to tell you why? We could have done this without the jury here, but it's important because if they want it coming in, let's let the whole thing come in and I can cross-examine him a little bit more on a few more things with his service. That's all I'm asking, Judge.
Okay, but
I don't
think-
object to that.
See, I think what he's talking about is something different than the DD 214, which is what Mr. Bell would cross-examine the witness on. So, you know, he's talking about a separate document, Judge. My motion still stands. I'd like to admit 282, please.
And Your Honor, the issue is that this document, the purpose of this document being admitted is because of the arguments we had earlier regarding whether he got a Purple Heart or not. And the testimony he gave, which is for the jury to decide whether that titanium is from an ATV accident or if it's from combat itself. The entire DD 214 will show, and that's why they want this in. And so it is relevant because it talks about the fact that he didn't get any disability counseling when he was released, which he absolutely would have. So all I'm asking, if they want it to come in, I want the whole thing to come in so I can re-examine the witness and go into that.
I told everybody this morning that we were gonna move to admit this. The court told us we could. There was no objection.
I didn't know it was
I think
one
there was
page.
He made no comment about, it's only a part of the document. Now he rises before the jury and asserts a new argument and asserts that there's something in there that's missing. I'm at a loss.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I wasn't given the document. They said they wanted to introduce his DD 214. I don't have any objection, but I want all of his release documents entered as an exhibit. I don't see what the problem is with doing this.
A separate document from the entire package, or part of the package.
It's,
but
it's all the separation of the, when you get separated, it's all part of the separation package. But the issue here is whether or not he was injured in combat or not. That's why they want this admitted. And so I think the
We
whole,
already heard in detail from him what occurred. He was open to cross. This document will come in.
Thank you much, Judge. Dan, talk a little bit about your injury to your leg. Was your leg injured at all in Iraq?
Yes,
Tell the jury about that.
from resulting from the IEDs, I suspect. Increase from that. Back, so I was brought a point back to the VA after I separated out. Out of the orthopedics, have some surgery done. During the course of that time, we broke the leg.
Okay, and that was while riding an ATV here in the United States, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but there was some precipitating, some injury that occurred in Iraq to your leg, is that correct?
Yes, it's cited as a combat injury.
I'm sorry?
It's cited as a combat.
And I think you told us earlier today that you're getting a disability because of the injuries that you received during your tour in Iraq, is that correct?
I am.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your association with this case here. Your involvement in this case doesn't just involve March through October 2020. Do you agree?
Yes.
I mean, in fact, you've been called upon to testify. I think this is your third time now here in state court. Is that correct?
Correct.
How many times have you had to testify since the defendants were arrested?
In total,
Yes.
I believe 5 times.
Okay. And you've been cross-examined each time as you have before this jury. Is that correct?
I have.
Dan, is that something you sought out or wanted?
No, sir.
Okay. I mean, your military service has been called into question here. Would you agree?
Yes.
That's something that you enjoy?
It's not.
Okay. There was some questions about you were paid money before the arrest. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And after the arrest, is that right?
That is correct.
How many times did you receive money?
I wasn't keeping track.
Okay. During the arrest phase or that time around October of 2020, did you feel your life was in danger?
I did.
Tell us about that, please.
All throughout the entire time, I felt my life was potentially in danger. So we're talking after the arrest.
Yeah, or right around October 7th. Yes, please.
I'm not sure.
Did you feel like anybody was possibly hunting you?
Yes, it came to my attention that one of the members of the Watchman had learned where I lived, and they had the address of where I was living.
Your Honor, I would just ask for the name of the watchman or
A fair
or
question.
clarification that's not Mr. Beller.
Sean Fix.
Okay, and let me ask you this, if I may. Did you have to actually move your residence because of your involvement in this case?
I did, yes.
Why did you move?
The fact of a member knowing where I lived.
Okay, did you have to get a different vehicle?
I did.
Okay, how much work have you missed because of this case? You're both in terms of your work before the arrest and after.
About 17 weeks.
Okay, Do you get paid by your employer when you don't show up?
No,
Okay, does that $54,000, does that make up for the missed work that you've had?
yes,
I mean, in total?
no.
Okay. Does it make up, did you lose any money? When did you sell your home?
I was after the arrest, the exact time frame. I'm not sure
What
December.
calendar year was it in?
might have been 2020 rolling into 21.
Okay, and that was obviously during the pandemic, is that correct?
That is correct.
Was that an easy thing to do to sell your home
No, it's not.
during that time, I mean?
That's correct.
Did you make money or lose money off of that?
With closing costs, and everything, I lost about $4,500.
Okay. Were you reimbursed for a watch?
I was.
Tell the jury why you had to get that watch.
So it was a Galaxy smartwatch, and there was an SOS feature on the watch. So if I was in some sort of trouble, I could push a button and it would call the handle me.
Okay. Did you have to get a new phone?
I did.
Why is that?
The phone that I had, the battery kept failing on it, and the individuals in the Watchman group were communicating all day through into the night and be able to keep up with that conversation.
Okay. Did you have to get a new laptop computer?
I did, yes.
How come?
Again, the laptop that I had was substantially old, and the battery on that was failing. It turned in more of a desktop kind of computer.
Okay. And was that something you were using to communicate on wire also?
I did use it under this.
Okay. Did you give receipts to the FBI for those items?
When they requested them, I presented the receipts to them. Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, this money. We're still on that topic of the money you received. You talked about these 3 QRFs in May of 2020 that you went on, right?
I did, yes.
You were out there by yourself, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm gonna object to leading. This is direct, redirect.
I'll rephrase.
Yeah, you can cover.
Was there anybody from the FBI in the vehicle with you when you went to Home Depot with Paul Bellard to cover Alex's back on that lower receiver gun sale?
There was not, no.
Okay, I mean, when you went down to Detroit that night, on Paul Bellar's request for the QRF to cover his buddies that were in the crowd, you were parked behind the Masonic Temple at night, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
With who was in the vehicle, remind us again?
Myself, Paul Bellard, Ty Garvin, Daniel Harris, and another individual.
Okay, and that's when Mr. Bellard talked about if they go lethal, I'm going lethal.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have exhibit 124, please? And is there any way to zoom in on that a little bit, Adam, please? Oh, yeah, yeah. In fact, thank you, Corey, very much. Does that look familiar to you?
It does. That is the back shack leading to the basement.
Okay, and you went down there with Adam Fox, is that correct?
I did.
And this is when he invites you to come over there and you and your group bring ideas for kicking off the boo.
Correct.
Okay, I mean, when you walk down in there, I mean, is there any FBI agent or police officer going down there with you?
There was not, no.
Okay. When you look at this, I mean, if you had known that's what you were going to be asked to do, I mean, did you see this as a money-making opportunity, Dan?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you, Corey, very much. And you were using recording devices, is that correct?
I was, yes.
What do you think these guys would have done to you if they would have figured that out?
Wouldn't have been good.
What was your fear?
I would have been killed, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, just, I guess for clarification, he's saying that's the fear. That's
That was
not,
his fear that if they
Okay.
discovered what was going on, found the recording devices, he'd have been killed.
This is after, and this is also considering your move, your new vehicle, the fact they know who you are now, correct?
Again, Your Honor, I'm gonna object to leading. I don't have a problem with him answering these questions, but I've let leading go for quite some time.
How would you? I don't know if you could rephrase that one.
Sure. I mean, I'll move on, Judge.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about much of the cross-examination of you centered on this idea that there was no plan. Okay, and you generally know what I'm talking about there?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about some consistencies in what was offered. Was there a target that was offered that was consistent throughout?
There was, yes.
Tell us about that.
Police officers and politicians, the governor.
Okay, I mean, although let's talk a little bit about when you first met Adam Fox. His initial plan on the 18th of June was to do what?
Like just from the Capitol, hold hostages, have it televised and wait for reinforcements to show up.
At that point in time, did Pete Musico have another plan or different plan?
It's 3 plans, homes and addresses.
Homes and addresses?
Yes.
And what does the 3 stand for?
3 a.m.
Okay, and did that, meaning go to their home at 3 a.m. and kidnap them?
Yes.
Okay, and did Adam Fox's plan shift after hearing Pete Musico's 3 plan?
It did, yes.
Tell us about that.
It went from taking the Capitol, storming the Capitol, it funneled down to where we found the governor's house and was wanting to do an assault on her house at night.
Okay. Quite a bit of cross-examination, defensive versus offensive. I want to talk about that a little bit. Have you ever heard the acronym ACABS?
I'm not,
ACABS.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. In your time with Joe Morrison, how do you think Joe Morrison felt about law enforcement?
objection, speculation, Your Honor.
I don't think so, not based on comments that were made. Go ahead.
Can you tell the jury what Joe Morrison's feelings were about the police, law enforcement? I'm sorry?
He hated police.
How about Pete Musico? How did he feel about the police and law enforcement, our government?
The same sentiment. He hated them.
Okay. How about Paul Bellar?
Absolutely. He wanted to get into a gunfighter and kill politics, our police.
Of the 3, which was the most aggressive?
Paul.
Earlier, you were asked about Mr. Bellar's during the QRF to Home Depot. You were asked about Mr. Bellar's gun being in a case. I think you testified that it was. Is that correct?
It was, yes.
Okay. Did he ever get it out of the case?
He did. He retrieved it.
Can you tell us about that?
He retrieved it from the case, brought it to the front of the vehicle, inserted a magazine, loaded it.
How many magazines did he have that day, if you know?
Exact number, I'm not sure.
Okay. Adam, can you play exhibit 55 for me?
Are you guys spraying pistols or here? I got both kids. My airbags. I'm take them there. I had like 6, but I didn't bring many back. No, I've got all mine loaded with 29 rounds. Ready to go.
Do you remember when that conversation took place relative to the QRF
Prior to the QRF gun buy at the
at the Home Depot?
Correct.
Okay, where did it take place at? You remember?
At Paul's house.
Okay, and does that help to refresh your memory about how many, what he's carrying?
It does, yes.
And how many magazines did he have that day?
He has 9.
Okay, each loaded with 29 rounds, is that what he said?
Right. Now, there's a significance about the reasoning behind 29 rounds. Typical AR mag holds 30. So when you have a round chambered, if you have 30 in the magazines, it's prone to not cycle off the round. So if you have 29 rounds in the magazine with the older mags, that it will continue to cycle. So if you load a 30 round up.
Objection, Your Honor. This is not part of the question. The question had nothing to do with how do these magazines work or why is there 29 rounds or that was not the question.
Rephrasing,
Well,
just,
and the objection is non-responsive, and that's my
That's all right.
objection. I'm not,
just go ahead and ask him again, but is there a purpose?
Overall
you go-
functionality, Your Honor, if there was 30 rounds in a magazine and you have one chambered, it's 31 rounds. So if the bolt won't be able to cycle back.
I get it.
okay, let's talk a little bit about your influence over Pete Musico. I mean, did you have any special power over him to get him to do anything he didn't want to do?
I did not know.
Okay, during this investigation, did Pete Musico make his own choices?
He did.
Okay, how about Joe Morrison? Did you have any special power or lure over him?
No.
He make his own choices during the time that you knew him?
He does well.
How about Paul Bellar? Did you have any special power or influence over him? Okay, was he a grown man making his own choices along the way?
Yes.
Okay. It was suggested that Mr. Bellar was adamant about Adam Fox being crazy. You remember that cross-examination?
I do.
Okay. Can you play exhibit 142 for me, please? That's funny. Using top first. Please. Grab the caption. This is from 6/21, the 2020 leadership chat. And let's read this, Dan, from Mr. Morrison. What's up, Phil and the Knoll Boys? At Dan. I think your response was, from what angle? I haven't been online much today. Talked with Adam today. He just wants to work with Knoll Boys. Have you guys seen the video pictures of people being stopped by armed protesters, like being drawn on? This is all you, is that correct, Dan?
That's correct.
Side note, Adam liked how our intel worked. Gunny, who's Gunny again?
Tiger.
Okay, on vetting people like old boy up north, throwing his home address and license plate. Doc, who's that again?
Paul Beller.
Hit him with how Detroit runs, came in hot with info for that's for sure. Next section, please. Doc again is Paul Bellar, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I think the meeting went pretty well. What meeting is he referring to there?
What day was this again?
The 21st of June,
That would have been the initial meeting with Adam at the protest.
at the
June
protest
18th.
or the back shack?
The June 18th was the protest, and this was the 21st.
And what date was the back shack meeting?
That Saturday.
What date was it, I asked?
I
Okay. Okay. let me just ask, okay, I think the meeting went pretty well. And did you have a meeting at protest with Adam, a meeting?
No, just the meeting was after back check.
Okay. I think the meeting went pretty well. The guys definitely got the spirit for this. Who's he referring to there?
Adam Fox.
Okay. He's not saying Adam Fox is crazy and we shouldn't get near him, is he?
He's not known.
Talk a little bit about 28. You mentioned that the June 28th, I'm sorry, the FTX when Adam Fox comes. You said you and Joe and Ty Garvin went to get Adam Fox and some people that came with him. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, you met him at a gas station, I believe, right?
Correct.
And you said Joe left somebody in charge. Is that right? Who's that?
Paul Beller,
Okay, and by leaving him in charge, what do you mean?
running the group. They were doing some training at that time.
Okay. I want to move to Wisconsin if I could, at Cambria on July 11th through 13th. You were asked some questions about that on cross-examination. You mentioned the dinner at Dino's. Is that correct? Saturday night?
That's correct.
You mentioned Barry Croft kind of holding court then.
Yes, it
You said that Paul Bellar was at the table. Is that right?
was.
Okay, you play exhibit 232, please. Okay, on 189, would you get your preliminary examination transcript there, please? And go to page 189. Okay. And tell me if you will, I'll read the questions and if you can read the answers starting on line 19 again. Question, and that's because your group has now started to put into motion up north the plot to kidnap the governor, get the governor.
Answer. It was Paul's group that got sent up.
Question, Paul's group got sent up?
Answer. Yeah, it was not my group.
Okay. Tell us about Paul's group getting, what did you mean by that being sent up? I guess first of all, sent where?
For Adam and surveilling the governor's house.
Okay, and that happened in August
It didn't.
and also September.
It was.
2 different dates?
Yes.
Okay. All right, wrapping up here. Question was asked about this $54,000 that you received. You're still, I mean, have you received any money? I mean, after, you got some money after the arrest, is that correct?
I didn't.
roughly, what time frame for, it would be October of 2020, November? Can you give us some idea of when you got that post-arrest payment?
There was a payment in January 21, I believe, either December or January.
Have you received any money since then?
I've done.
And in fact, I mean, this is the time that you've been called to testify 5 different occasions, is that right?
That's correct.
Talk a little bit about Mr. Bellar's warning to the group that the police have been at his residence and the code words are compromised. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think Mr. Kirkpatrick's question to you was, well, yeah, it came that a mole or whatever had been discovered. And I mean, when Mr. Bellar, called and, started that, conversation, the police have been at my home. Later after that, did there come some talk of, there might be a mole in the group?
Well, there was, yes.
Okay. I mean, how did that make you feel? You heard Paul Bellar offering that information.
Concerned
Why?
for the well-being of my safety.
I mean, can you get a little bit, more granular for me on that? I mean, why was that a concern to you?
They were they knew they were doing stuff that was illegal. And if there was a mole within the group with them for what they were doing, I felt for the safety of my life.
Dan, thank you very much.
Ballard,
Thank you, Your Honor. Dan,
Sir,
I believe, well, let's start with this. I believe Mr. Ralston asked you about Sean Fix, correct? He asked you about, I believe you referenced the Wolverine Watchman and which one, and you referenced Sean Fix, correct?
yes,
Isn't it true that Sean Fix was never a member of the Wolverine Watchman?
it was Adam's group.
He was Adam's group, right? So he was not a member of the Watchmen. So that, in fact, let's clarify that part, okay? We're good with that? Thank you. I believe you talked briefly about your commendations on your 214, correct? Your DD 214?
Yes, sir.
Do you have it there? Ran off a Army commendation, is that correct? First one?
Yes, sir.
Is there 2 Army commendations on there? Is that what I heard?
There's one with valor.
Okay. And then I think the next one was good conduct medal, right?
Yes, sir.
What do you do to get a good conduct medal?
Don't have any kind of reprimand over the course of 3 years.
Kind of like the honorable discharge we talked about, right? Don't get in trouble. Here's a medal for you, right? Almost like a participation trophy.
Judge, it's getting a little loud again.
yeah,
I'll
and
tone
I
it
hope
down.
you're gonna cover something new.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe Mr. Ralston asked you about the compensation you were getting, correct?
Yes.
Asked you about the reimbursements, right?
Yes.
Do you remember me asking you this morning if you had to provide receipts?
Did.
You do remember me asking?
I do, and I did provide.
Do you have the transcript in front of you? And if you don't, I'll bring my computer over because I'm getting better at it. The transcript from the hearing in this courtroom, February of this year. Is that one of those that you have there?
Would it be the preliminary? Or
No, it would be the one dated February, I believe it's the 28th, 2022.
All right.
You have that? Can you go,
Yes.
I'm sorry?
February 28th.
Yes. Can you go to page 81 for me, please? You have it there?
I'm there.
I'm going to start on line 1, okay? I'll read the question.
Yes, sir.
Would the FBI reimburse you for these purchases? And the answer is?
No, I had never asked for any kind of reimbursement for anything. I never provided the receipts for anything. Purchase things on my own accord.
So the FBI never reimbursed you for ammunition. Answer?
For ammunition, no, they would give me money for what information I was providing. What I did with it was amongst myself. Paid my mortgage, my truck payment. If I had money left over, yeah, I would purchase ammunition.
Did you file this $54,000 on your taxes?
I claim money on my taxes, yes.
All of it?
No,
No.
it was reimbursement for money that I had already spent.
But you didn't provide receipts. So
No.
how does the government know?
Well, how would he know that? How would the
He
government?
filed his
know?
taxes, Your Honor.
You know, I mean,
Okay, I'll move on. You testified that Joe Morrison hated the police. Is that correct?
He did.
Is that against the law in your mind?
No,
Is it unconstitutional in some way?
No.
Does it mean because you hate the police, you will commit violence against the police?
he was wanting to commit violence.
That's not my question to you. My question to you was, if you hate the police, does that indicatively mean you will commit violence against the police?
No.
Okay. I will yield, Your Honor. I have nothing further at this time for this witness.
Mr. Johnson.
Sir, at the truck company you work for, you make $6,000 a year, correct?
Roughly, yes.
You got paid $54,000 for work you did from with the FBI from March to September.
That's correct.
The Wolverine Watchmen met on Sundays twice a month.
Yes.
The computer you got was around, how much was it?
500, 4,000 or so.
3,500, 4,000 or so? 4,300 sound familiar?
It might, I don't have the receipt.
Okay. You got that computer 2 weeks before the takedown, correct?
Correct.
I think your testimony was that at some point, Paul referred to Pete as crazy, correct?
He had mentioned that, yes.
Ty called Pete crazy, correct?
Yes.
Matter of fact, in the chat groups that Pete Musical was not in, he was referred to as Crazy Pete.
Yes.
You know who Jared Bouchain is, right? I think he's referenced in Exhibit 159T,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Jared Bouchain is not at the state.
He is not.
To your knowledge, he wasn't in federal court.
No.
No further question.
Hey, Rex, you got my crossbow.
It's quick, I promise, real quick.
We got through the part that Sean Fix is the one that actually went to the training on June 28th. Adam Fox went to the training on June 28th, correct?
He was there, yes.
He was Adam Fox's XO, correct?
That's correct.
So we're clear, that Sean Fix was not a Wolverine watchman, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when the entire time that you've known Mr. Beller, from the day you met him to today, Mr. Beller's never made any threats to you, correct?
To me personally? No.
Prosecutor read a minute ago, page 189. You go back to 189, please.
On which,
I'm sorry, on the preliminary exam transcript. March 4th. Line 19. Prosecutor had you read lines 19 to 24. Does that sound correct?
yes, sir.
Let's do it again, but I want to read through the full thread. It's 19, the question, this is the question, and that's because your group has now started to put into motion a plot to kidnap the governor, to get the governor. Your answer?
It was Paul's group that got sent up.
Question, Paul's group got sent up?
Yeah, it was not my group.
Question, Paul's ghost group is the one that got sent up to kidnap.
So we went to Wisconsin, and then out of that, individuals that was down.
Okay, so Paul was in Wisconsin, correct?
Was,
Ty Garvin was in Wisconsin, correct?
was,
Brandon Concerta was in Wisconsin, correct?
was,
Was Caleb Franks in Wisconsin? I forget.
was.
Those three went with Adam, correct? But Paul didn't, right?
No.
And you just said we went to Wisconsin, and then out of that, Adam was picking out individuals that was down, correct?
Correct.
I go on to ask you, or I say, and then your next answer,
To go up there, so that way it would have been Adam's group.
question, it would have been Adam's group?
That's correct.
Question, not Paul's?
With Paul not being there, we pulled people out of that. Yes, that is correct.
Paul was long gone to South Carolina, correct?
In August, yes.
The last thing I'm gonna ask you, the warning that went out from Paul on August 18th, I know we covered this, but I just want to clarify this with the jury. That warning didn't go to Adam Fox, correct?
No.
That warning didn't go to Barry Croft, correct?
No.
That warning didn't go to Pete Musical, correct?
No.
Warning didn't go to Joe Morrison, correct?
No.
I am.
Nothing. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna knock off, really, it's been a long week. I've heard of, how tired they are. So we're not knocking off right now. But we are. But we are gonna knock off.
We were going for
Judge, can we approach just with that promise that you just made?
Oh, great. Okay, your first witness. Please be seated. Face me for a moment. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. Whenever you're ready, counsel.
Judge. Good afternoon. Can you tell the jury your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Lindsay Beelan.
Ms. Beelan, I want to take it back in time to 2020 if I could. And tell us, if you will, where you worked back then.
I worked for Child Lake Estates in Milford, Michigan.
Okay, what is Child Lake Estates?
It is a manufactured home community.
Okay, and how long had you worked there back then?
I've been at this property since May of 2000.
Okay, and tell us a little bit, if you would, kind of what your responsibilities are for Child Lake Estates.
So property management, I am responsible for 619 units. I have tenants that are homeowners, I have rentals, I have lease to owns, I have a mix of different homes. I run a crew of about 6 people, so that includes maintenance and my office staff with sales and leasing and my office.
Okay, very good. May I approach, Judge?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
In working at Child Lake Estates, I mean, it sounds like part of your responsibilities might be to interact with the tenants who are renting there. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you come to know a tenant by the name of Paul Bellar? You can recognize him today. Can you see him in court? Can you tell us where he's sitting, please, and what he's wearing?
The blue button down.
Okay, the gentleman, 1, 2.
Oh, there's tons of blue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's
No, it's the second one down.
next to him.
Yeah.
Okay, identify for the record, Mr. Bellar, Your Honor. Tell me, if you will, he said, how did you know him there?
He was my tenant from November 2019 to August, roughly right around the beginning.
Okay, and did there come a time that you said until around August of 2020? And what happened in August of 2020?
He vacated willingly.
Okay, and was that, tell us a little bit about his exit from the property there.
Right at the end of his tenancy there, he started struggling paying rent. So we started moving forward with a non-payment case with him. And some months he would go ahead and take care of it and get caught back up. And then we would go through another month. And then at this point, he just wasn't able to afford the home anymore.
Okay, before August, how far back was he having difficulty financially meeting the obligation?
Well, the court process takes a little bit for a non-payment case. So I'm pretty sure we filed 2 cases on him, which is about a 4-month.
Okay, so going back 4 months before August, is that yes?
Yes.
We have to take down your testimony. Okay, thank you. Okay, and after Mr. Bellar, did Mr. Bellar have a roommate?
Yes, we did.
Okay, did the roommate stay or go after Mr. Bellar left?
They all vacated.
Okay, and after a tenant vacates, do you have some responsibility?
After yes, I have to go through with my maintenance supervisor and we document what the condition is of the home with a move out checklist.
Okay, After doing that, was there something that you saw inside the home that concerned you?
Yes,
Okay, and did you call the Milford police after that?
I did.
Okay, what was it that you saw inside the home, Ms. Beelen, that, you thought was out of place?
There was some items left behind, or well, an item left behind in the kitchen. It was in a bag. It was also scattered off a white substance. There were casings on the living room table, as well as like a cabinet for weapons.
Okay.
With boxes left.
Okay, anything else that comes to mind or no?
I mean, there was quite a bit of furniture still left in the unit. It seems like it was just very poorly just packed up and
I understand. So did the Milford police come out?
yes,
Okay, and did you grant them access into the vacated unit?
we did.
Okay. Did you have any contact with Mr. Bellar after he vacated?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I texted Mr. Villar because he left a photo behind that I felt was kind of sentimental. So I did not receive a forwarding address upon his move out. So I sent him for
Sure.
information for that deposit, the security deposit log. So I did ask if he could send me a forwarding address so that I can send him that.
How did you make that inquiry of Mr. Bellar? Okay, so you had his contact information? Did he reply?
Yes.
Okay, may I approach, Judge?
Yes.
I'm gonna hand you this marked as Exhibit 249. Ask you to take a look at this, Ms. Beelen. Just look at that for yourself for a minute, let me know when you've had a chance to review it. And does that look familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay, and is that a text message between you and Mr. Bellar on August the 12th of 2020?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is that a fair and accurate representation of your communication with him?
Yes.
Okay, move for admission of 249, please, Judge.
No objection. The only objection is to Mr. Morrison. Doesn't pertain.
Submitted.
Thank you. Can you put that up, please, Aaron? Thank you. Corey, can I ask you to please dim the lights? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't help much.
Can you see that, Ms. Beelen, or is it easier to read it off the?
I can read it off of this. I can't
Why-
see
It's the green that I can't read, but why don't you go ahead and the green portion of the message, is that you or Mr. Bellar?
this.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and read what your message was to him?
I said, hey, can I get your forwarding address? You left your military picture. I felt that may be sentimental. I was wondering if I can send it to you. I feel terrible just throwing it away.
His response?
His response was, sorry about that. I totally forgot. Thanks for messaging me. And then he gave his address of 18 Killian Lakes Drive, apartment. Yes, South Carolina.
Okay, and then did you have a response? Did he, do you have a response to him?
I did, yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, great. I'll get it in the mail this week.
And did he reply to you then on Sunday, August 23?
He did.
Can you tell us, read that part of the message?
He said, is everything okay? Milford Police was contacting old friends of mine to ask really weird questions. I was just wondering if I needed to clear anything up.
Reply to that?
I did.
Okay, your response?
I said, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Everything is fine here.
Okay. Thank you very much, Judge.
Any cross?
Just a couple questions.
Good afternoon. Is it Beelan?
Phelan.
I got real easy stuff. Okay. When he responds to you, or when he texts you on August 23rd, and correct me if I'm wrong, he says, is everything okay? Milford Police was contacting old friends of mine to ask really weird questions. I was just wondering if I needed to clear anything up. That's what he says, right? Does that sound to you like he's saying, hey, do I need to call somebody? Do I need to figure out what's going on so I can clear up what might be going on back there?
I did feel that's what he was asking at the time.
Great. You said, the other thing too is, there wasn't a bunch of drugs found in the house, right? You said something about white stuff all over the floor. It wasn't like the police didn't come in and have to get a bunch of drugs out of that place, correct?
I don't know what the result of was that,
But they
what
didn't.
that was. They
Okay.
didn't tell
I
me.
just want to make sure the jury doesn't think that all the white stuff is a bunch of cocaine spread all around the house. You weren't made aware of that by any law enforcement,
I was
correct?
not made aware of it.
I don't know.
Your Honor, I'll make it even easier. I have no questions.
Thank you very much for your time.
If it was drugs, you'd be charged with drugs too.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please be seated. State your name, spell your last name for the record.
My name is Sergeant Brett Orvis, Orvis.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Tell us your name again, please.
My name is Sergeant Brett Orvis.
Hey, Sergeant, can you tell us where you're employed at?
Yes, I'm currently employed with the Mount Morris Township Police Department,
And how long have you been there?
approximately 10 years.
Okay, and you're a sergeant, is that correct? When did you get promoted from patrolman to sergeant?
I believe it was April of 21.
Okay, can you tell us, if you will, do you have any duties that are involve working as a task force officer for the FBI out of Flint?
Sure. Yeah, in 2019, I was signed up to the FBI Safe Streets Task Force, which I'm currently still a member of.
Okay, just give us a thumbnail sketch of what that's all about.
Yeah, so it's a multi-jurisdictional task force made up of state troopers, local police, federal agents. Target, we mainly investigate violent crimes.
Do you know who Dave Ramirez is?
Yes,
And back in March of 2020, was Mr. Ramirez a sworn officer with the Mount Morris Township Police Department?
yes, he was.
And just help us out with Mount Morris. Where is it from, like, the city of Flint? How far?
So we border the city of Flint. We're just north of Flint.
Okay. And Mr. Ramirez, you said he was a fellow police officer with the township, is that right?
Yeah, Dave Ramirez was a patrol officer with the Mount Morris Township Police Department.
Was he part of the FBI task force that you were connected to?
No,
Okay, and tell me, if you will, did you get some information from Mr. Ramirez about some information that he had received?
yes, Dave contacted me and he had some information that he said was concerning to him. Group was seeking out police officers' addresses.
Okay, what did you do with that information?
So he provided me with a phone number and a name, and the name of the group. At that time, I conducted an open source check just to see if I could find it, which time I located the Facebook group.
What was the name of the group, Sergeant? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, the Wolverine Watchman.
Go ahead, continue, please.
Yep. And so at that time, it's not my expertise to investigate those kind of things. We have terrorism guys that work in our office. At that time, I forwarded it to Special Agent Hank Impola and Jason Jacobs.
Okay, and when you said we don't have that kind of expertise, are you talking about Mount Morris Township Police Department?
Right.
Okay, did you feel that the FBI would be a better place to send this lead?
Yeah, so at the time I sat at the FBI office every day. That's where I reported for my duties. But my team mainly focused on gangs, which we had another team that focused on terrorism. So I forwarded the information to Special Agent Polar.
Okay, did you actually meet with the witness that reported to Officer Ramirez?
I did not.
Okay, now, let me fast forward a little bit from March of 2020 into May of 2020. I want to direct your attention towards the end of May, the 31st, to be exact, I believe. Do you recall if there was a Black Lives Matter march in downtown Flint that day?
Yes, there was.
Okay, and did you have anything to do with, trying to keep the streets safe while that was going on?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So any protest or march or anywhere where there's mass groups of people, we would conduct surveillance in the area to look out for any type of threats to anybody.
Okay, did you get any information prior to the march that there might be a threat coming?
Yes, we received an email to report to the office, and we also had a group text going that this group that the guys have been monitoring may be coming to Flint.
Okay, now you said you got an email to report to the office, correct?
Yes.
Was this an email sent out by your home department of Mount Morris, or was this an email sent out by, the federal task force that you were on?
It was from the federal, it was from the FBI.
Okay, and in this email to report to the office, what day of the week is this?
I don't recall the date.
Were you scheduled to work?
Yes.
Okay, was this email something that was a matter of course, or was it something more urgent?
It was urgent, basically directing us to report immediately.
Do you know what an all call is?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what that is?
It's basically where a call goes out, or a text, email, phone call for anybody that's available. If you don't have something very important going on that you need to report to work immediately.
Was this an all call?
Yes,
Okay, did you do that? Did you report to work?
I did.
Okay, what was the threat that was, described to you?
We were told that the Wolverine Watchmen were mobilizing in the Flint area.
Okay, about how many people did that all call raise? I mean, how many people reported?
On my team, there's approximately 10. The rest of the office, maybe another 10, so approximately 20 people.
Okay, and was there some briefing about what, was going to be done that day to try to keep people safe there at the office?
Yes.
Okay, and was a plan developed of some type?
Yeah, our role is basically just to conduct surveillance in the area and keep an eye on things.
I noticed you're wearing your dress uniform today.
Yes.
In terms of when you were conducting surveillance that day, I mean, were you in a marked unit and uniform?
No, I was working in an undercover plainclothes capacity at the time.
Okay, and can you tell the jury a little bit about what you did to go out and conduct surveillance that day and what you saw?
Yeah, so we just we combed out, we split up and spread out through the city of Flint and the downtown areas and began surveilling the area, looking for any signs of trouble.
Main, every town has a main street. What's the name of the main street in downtown Flint?
Saginaw Street.
Okay, and is there a farmer's market near Saginaw Street?
Yeah, there's two. There's an old farmer's market and then a new one.
Okay, and how far are they from Saginaw Street?
It's approximately a half mile to a mile at most.
Okay, and did you encounter anybody that you thought to be a Wolverine Watchman?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so at the old farmer's market, which is off Boulevard and Robert T. Longway, so it's kind of between them. As I got into the area, observed a small group of men, basically arming themselves, putting on armored vests, sidearms, rifles, things like that.
Did that catch your attention that day, Sergeant?
It did.
Okay, what did you do with that information after you saw it?
We relayed it to our group and passed along the information to Special Agent.
Okay. after you observed that, I mean, what did you as a group collectively decide to do about those men that were, getting geared up there?
Yeah, we just conducted surveillance and kept a close eye on the situation.
Okay, did you make contact with them?
No.
How come?
For two reasons, basically. One, we're the police, we're armed, they were heavily armed, and at that point, they had not committed any crimes to approach them.
Okay, how long did you watch them?
Approximately an hour and a half.
How did it end? How did it end, rather?
They just left.
Okay, and about what time of the day would that have been roughly, if you can help us out with that?
I don't recall.
No problem. Was it daylight?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sergeant. I'll yield the witness.
I'm sorry, is it Orvis?
Purpose, yes, sir.
Yeah, Sergeant Orvis, correct?
Yes, sir.
No arrests were made that day of the individuals you were watching, correct? No act of violence committed that day by the individuals you were watching, correct? And I love your answer. You didn't make contact because they hadn't broken any laws, right?
Sir.
So that caused you not to have to even go talk to him, right?
Sir.
You recognize this young man right here?
I don't.
Never had contact with him that day?
No.
Never arrested him that day?
No, sir.
Never saw him commit any acts of violence that day?
Sir.
I have no further questions.
Mine will be very similar. You know this gentleman?
Sir.
In your police experience, ever have contact with him in any kind of law enforcement capacity?
No, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Johnson.
First, to be clear, this alleged threat that you were reporting, you never saw it, correct?
Could you repeat the question?
The alleged threat from the patrol officer that was reported to you, you never saw it.
Are you referring to the text message?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. And there was 20 officers called in to monitor the Wolverine Watchman on that day, correct?
It was a two-part, the march and also this event that unfolded during the march.
And as other counsel said, you were watching these guys for an hour and a half.
Yes, sir.
And for an hour and a half, all they did was follow the law.
Yes, sir.
Did you report that to the FBI that you watched these guys for an hour and a half and for 90 minutes they followed the law?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything further? No, thank you. Thank you.
Judge, we could call another witness.
Yes. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
My name is Christopher Tarrant, first name common spelling with C, CHRISTOPHER. Last name Tarrant, TARRANT.
Counsel.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Tarrant. So you're gonna need to keep your voice up a little bit. That microphone does not amplify, so we all just kind of have to keep our voices up. If you don't mind. Tell me you told me your name, tell me what you do.
I'm a supervisory special agent with the FBI. I currently supervise one of the joint terrorism task forces, squads or teams that covers investigations dealing with domestic terrorism, weapons of mass destruction, crimes aboard aircraft, and anything considered an immediate threat to human life.
You work for the FBI, is that right?
That's correct.
And what office do you work out of?
The Detroit field office.
Detroit field office. How long have you been a special agent with the FBI?
Approximately 12 years.
Okay, 12 years. And before that, what did you do for a living?
Part of the FBI, I worked for the Collier County Sheriff's Department in Naples, Florida for approximately 7 years. And with the Collier County Sheriff's Office, I held several positions to include working as a jail deputy and road patrol deputy.
So you were a police officer on the street for several years before you were an FBI agent, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And you told us that you were a supervisory special agent in the counterterrorism section, is that right?
That's correct.
What kind of duties do you have to do that?
But my duties on a daily basis.
Yep.
I supervise an immediate team of about 26 individuals who conduct investigations dealing with domestic terrorism, weapons of mass destruction, or what we would call bomb threats, crimes aboard an aircraft at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport. And then 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we receive tips and complaints that may be a threat to human life. And my team's responsibility is to mitigate those threats as soon as possible.
Okay. And what is a threat to life team? What does that mean? How does it work?
So when the FBI receives any kind of complaint where there may be an allegation of serious bodily injury or death to an individual or a group of individuals, we're required to perform some sort of investigative action within 24 hours or immediate, depending on the or report that we get.
As part of your duties, you also work with state and local police officers, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you sometimes provide support for large events like Black Lives Matter protests or marches?
We provide support for local and state police departments, not only in Detroit, but statewide. The responsibility for my team. When it comes to support they require for intelligence, we support them.
I want to draw your attention to the night of May 30th, 2020. Do you recall that time?
I do.
All right. And can you tell me what you were doing then?
So on May 30th of 2020, my responsibility was to work in a command post that was established in the city of Detroit, responsible for sharing intelligence with the Detroit Police Department, specifically due to information that we received during that time that there may be individuals traveling from out of the state in different states to come to Detroit to commit acts of violence.
You were sort of aware that there was potential for outside people to be coming into Detroit for this particular protest. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And so what was happening around this time in the world and news in the nation?
The nation, there were various incidents involving law enforcement or political government officials that drew attention from various individuals in the public where there may be acts of violence occurring against the public defenders.
So when you say you received intel, what does that mean? Like what's a piece of intel that you would then forward out to other agencies, local, state, that kind of thing?
So we receive intelligence or tips or information from not only the public, but local and state partners, police agencies, of various information. And it could be that there's an individual from out of state or a group from out of state that may be traveling to a specific area to conduct acts of violence, or maybe intelligence that we receive internally from other FBI agents or other task force officers who work on the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
If you push that information out, you keep saying state and local partners. What do you mean by state and local partners? Do you mean specific police departments, or what do you mean?
So by local partners, it would be your local police departments, such as Detroit Police Department, state police department would be like the Michigan State Police. So various police departments at every level.
Okay. And so what's the mission there for your involvement in this evening?
That evening, my specific mission was to share any type of intelligence that we received, whether it be current subjects that we were concerned about, individuals that may conduct acts of violence in the city of Detroit, at marches that were occurring specifically that night, or any intelligence that we received nationwide of individuals traveling from different states who may travel in to conduct criminal acts or acts of violence.
Okay, so I want to go to that night, and I want to know if you received some information from Agent Henrik Impola.
So on May 30th of 2020, in the evening time frame, I received information from Special Agent Henrik Impola that individuals who were associated with the Wolverine Watchmen or members of the Wolverine Watchmen were planning on traveling to Detroit to target police officers.
Okay, and what did you do with that information?
After we received that information, we generated an intelligence or officer safety bulletin, which is basically a piece of paper with individuals' names and pictures, individuals that we were concerned with, to share with the police department So they had the biographical information and the photographs of the individuals that may commit acts of violence.
And how come you do that?
I'm sorry.
How come you do that? How come you issue information like that?
We issue that information to make sure that not only police officers are safe, but they have the ability to identify individuals of concern to keep the public safe.
Okay, I'm gonna show you what's been previously marked and admitted as exhibit number 82. If you could bring that up, please. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What is it?
That's the officer safety or intelligence bulletin that we produced at the command post and shared with the Detroit Police Department.
Who'd you disseminate this to?
Specifically, it went to a task force officer, John Boyle. So John Boyle at the time was the Detroit police officer who was assigned to work on my squad on the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And in the command post at that time, his responsibility was to be the liaison between us and the Detroit Police Department to share information to his command staff.
Okay, and so you did that, is that right?
That is correct.
All right. What else did you do that night?
That night, I kept in communications with Special Agent Henrik Empola to receive updates, reference to individuals associated with the Wolverine Watchman. During that time, I received specific information of a statement that Henrik Empola had received that Paul Bellar had made, referencing to
Objection, hearsay. We've got exhibits, we've got recordings from that whole night. This is hearsay, what Agent Impola said to this witness regarding the BLM march.
Based on the information you received, did you take any actions?
yes, based on the information I received, the actions I took were to communicate with Special Agent Henrik Empola to receive additional information, which included not only statements, but the time frame that these individuals of concern were to arrive in the city of Detroit.
On that, what did you do?
So during that time frame, when I was in communications with Special Agent Henrik Empola, when we received information that these individuals of concern were approximately 40 minutes away from the city of Detroit, I made the determination that we needed to enhance our liaison communications with the Detroit Police Department, and myself and Task Force Officer John Boyle left the command post and went to the city of Detroit on the street to see if we could observe the individuals that were traveling or arriving in the city.
And did you have information about how many individuals were coming down?
I had information that the individuals on this intelligence bulletin, from my knowledge, were the ones that were supposed to arrive.
Okay, so there were individuals, multiple individuals, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, and it's you and you said Detroit Police Officer, Task Force Officer John Boyle, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so the two of you go out to where? What do you do?
So at the time, I received information that these individuals were going to stage or be in the area near the Masonic Temple in the city of Detroit. So myself and Task Force Officer John Boyle in one vehicle left and deployed to that specific area and coordinated with Special Agent Empola for the arrival of these individuals so that we could actually see them arrive and coordinate with the Detroit Police Department to provide the locations in case they were to engage law enforcement.
Okay, and so when did you go down there?
I did, yes.
What'd you see when you got there?
So upon arrival, we had limited assets available. I immediately noticed that the area had limited foot traffic and it had limited lighting in the area. So we would stand out from anybody in that area. Our vehicle would stand out to anyone. And so we drove by a parking lot near the Masonic Temple and observed a pickup truck in a dimly lit parking lot. There were several individuals standing outside with body armor and rifles or firearms.
Okay. So you mentioned this when you in the answer you just gave, with limited assets available, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so is it like TV where, the FBI can summon a SWAT team at a moment's notice to take care of something?
No, that is not correct.
Okay, so what do you mean by limited assets were available?
So ideally, if we knew far enough in advance for a surveillance team or for an actual team to be put in place, I would typically deploy approximately 4 to 5 vehicles with 4 to 5 individuals in each vehicle to that area, not only for officer safety with having multiple people within that area, but to have proper coverage of every street so that we could tell when the vehicle was leaving or coming and going.
Did not have that luxury at
We
this
did
time?
not. We
Okay,
did not.
so it's you, Detroit Police Officer John Boyle, you go down there. What do you do once you make visual contact?
So once we made visual contact, John Boyle in the same vehicle with me would communicate to his command staff, but letting them know, keeping them updated that these individuals were in the parking lot. And again, due to the limited foot traffic or limited lighting conditions, we could not sit specifically near that parking lot. We would stand out. So we parked about a block over. And periodically, after coordinating with Special Agent Intelligence, we would pass through the streets for that parking lot to make sure that those individuals were still there.
So what's it like when you're sitting there and it's just the two of you and you're trying to maintain visual contact? What does that feel like?
Well, there's a concern for not only our safety as well as the public safety and the Detroit Police Department safety. But John Bull and I, again, just the two of us, we typically have 4 to 5 vehicles. We took it serious. We had our body armor out and our long guns or rifles available for use.
Did you go make contact with that vehicle?
We did not.
How come?
Primarily, we didn't have the assets in place to make contact. And to make contact at that time with anybody who was looking to engage in a confrontation with law enforcement, especially with limited assets, there would be a high probability for a violent confrontation.
How long did you stay in that position? Kind of, keep track of where they were and just get visual on them?
We were out near the Masonic Temple for approximately 2 hours.
Were you made aware that they had left the area?
Yes, when staying in communications with Special Agent when we received information that the people had left shortly after midnight on the following day. And we stayed within that area until we were sure that they had left the city of Detroit.
Agent Karen, I have no more questions for you.
Couple quick ones.
Agent Torrent, is it Tarrant or Torrent?
Tenant,
Tarrant, you sat there and watched them for 2 hours, correct?
on and off,
They broke no laws, right?
none that I'm aware of.
Made no arrests, correct?
Not with you,
No acts of violence committed by anybody, correct?
that I'm aware of.
In fact, another reason why you didn't make contact with them is because you didn't have a legal reason to make contact with them. They'd broken no laws, correct?
At that time, no law.
I got a question for you. Hypothetical.
Objection, none.
Ross,
I've got a hypothetical question for
I'll
you.
ask you a
Is
question.
it relevant?
I'll change it. I'll reword it.
Okay.
You're a police officer. You were a police officer, and then you became an FBI agent, correct? And you were sitting there that night with the one vehicle, just the two, with just you and another officer with you.
That's correct.
Probably a good thing you didn't call out 4 cars with 4 guys in each car for this, right? I mean, you were there for 2 hours. There was no issues, correct?
I wouldn't say that it wasn't worth calling out officially.
But you didn't need them, right?
I wouldn't say we didn't need it.
You didn't need them that night, correct?
I
In
would-
retrospect.
Judge,
No,
can
I
he
wouldn't.
finish his answers before he goes on to the next question?
It was already answered.
You were a a deputy, and then you became an FBI agent. When you were sitting there in your uniform and in your car that night at that protest, if a police officer would have pulled out his weapon and would have started shooting people innocently, would you have neutralized that threat to a police officer killing innocent people?
Objection, Judge. This is irrelevant what a sworn law enforcement officer would do in that situation. It is not the same.
Your Honor, it's relevant because the people have put this issue, they're bringing in these witnesses. Oh, we had to go to these QRFs. Nothing happens. At this QRF, there was an exhibit. If they go lethal, I'm going lethal. I'm just getting some perspective.
You're talking about, you've added things to it about shooting innocent civilians. You don't know how there's too many hypotheticals that can come into play. I'm going to sustain the objection.
Go for the questions.
Yeah.
Sir, the Masonic Temple's in the Cass Corridor, correct?
Sorry, it's where?
The Masonic Temple's in the Cass Corridor, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, the protest was on Woodward, right?
It started at there. It traveled around the city.
Okay, but the protest didn't go down the Cass Corridor.
I cannot recall the specific route.
You're driving down the block and back throughout the course of this 120 minutes to see if the vehicle's still there, correct?
That's correct.
The vehicle's still there, correct?
Correct.
And they leave at around midnight. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's correct.
There was acts of violence that night in Detroit. Is that fair to say?
Can't recall specific incidents in the city that Detroit Police Department dealt with,
You don't even know if Mr. Musical was even there.
not specifically.
And you didn't observe this car or the people in it do anything wrong.
At that time,
No further questions.
Anything? Thank you.
Special Agent, you didn't see Mr. Morrison there that you can recall that night, can you? Or do you?
specifically, the lighting was too dim for me to recognize individuals.
Did you see Mr. Bellar there that you can identify that evening?
No, the lighting was too dim for me to recognize.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Anything further?
Nope.
Thank you.
Yep. Got our next witness, Judge?
Yep.
Thank you, Agent.
How long is your next witness?
We got two witnesses, be similar to Special Agent Tenant in terms of length. I mean, I don't know.
We'll probably go through one of them. We'll see how long they take.
Fair enough.
Well, Your Honor, if they're gonna call witnesses to talk about how these guys broke no laws, I'll sit here all night. You know, I don't need to do it early.
The jury doesn't want to be here all night.
That's
Right on over here. Before you take a seat, stop facing me. Ready, Ricky? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so you got it.
One minute if I may, Judge.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you tell us your name, please?
Joshua Miller,
Mr. Miller, how old are you today?
25.
Okay, I want to take you back in time to the year 2020, if I could, and ask if you knew somebody by the name of Max Wyckoff. You tell the jury how you knew Mr. Wyckoff.
I worked with Matt.
Okay, and did there come a time that Max introduced you to a group that you came to know as the Wolverine Watchmen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell us a little bit about how that happened.
He told me he went shooting with some guys and asked if I wanted to join.
Okay. Did you go through tell us, did you join the group?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen on the jury a little bit about how you got membership in the Wolverine Watchmen?
I downloaded an app, a messenger app, and got vetted into the group.
Okay, do you remember the name of the app that you downloaded?
It was called Wired.
Okay, and did they ask you some questions before you were allowed membership into the group?
Yeah.
Okay, and Was that done on the wire chat?
Yeah.
I on the wire, okay, application,
Yes, sir.
okay. Yeah, approach judge.
Yes.
Mr. Miller, I'm going to show you a document here. It's been marked as proposed exhibit 33. And the date is the 14th of June, 2020. It was Josh at JP Miller 97. Okay, and that the candle you adopted on wire.
I think that's what my name was. I can't remember.
Okay, reading this chat to yourself here. First page, and let me know when you just read that to yourself on the first page. Let me know when you're done. You all done with that? Does that look familiar to you in terms of the conversation that you had with on this wire application? Did you know who Big Daddy Bunyan was?
No, I did not.
And is Josh you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to take a look at the second page here. Just read that to yourself. Let me know when you're done.
Mr. Ralston, while he's reading, can you speak up just a little bit?
I'm sorry.
While he's reading, can you ask the witness just to speak up a little bit?
Absolutely. That microphone doesn't amplify, so if you can keep your voice up so that people over there can hear you too, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you remember that as being part of the chat too? Okay, and you keep your voice up so those gentlemen over there can hear you, okay? Gonna ask you to read that third page just to yourself. Was that a continuation of the chat that you've seen in the first two pages?
Yeah.
Okay, and
Mr. Ralston, I apologize. May I see that real quick? I don't have my exhibits with me. I just want to see what it is
sure.
before you ask for it to be admitted. I didn't mean to interrupt you either.
I'm gonna ask you to read that page to yourself. Just let me know when you're done with that, okay? That a continuation of the fourth page there. Okay, we're almost done. And the fifth page there, take a look at that and let me know when you're done with that. Okay, is that continuation? Yeah. Okay, and the last page there, just read that to yourself and let me know when you're done. Okay.
Yep.
What you've read here, is this a fair and accurate representation of the exchange that you had on wire on the 14th of June?
From what I remember, yes.
Move for admission of a 30.
May I just look at it, please? I doubt I'm
While he
there.
looks at it, just stand the objection for Mr. Musto.
What number are we on?
That's number 33.
Wait.
They're doing them out of order, Judge.
Oh,
So this is their exhibit 33.
all right.
To 33, I'm thinking 250.
Your Honor, well, I'm also familiar. I log no objection.
You're not in there. Objection.
Exhibit 33 is admitted with standing objection.
Thank you very much. Can you pull up? Mr. Miller, tell us a little bit about kind of what you understood this process to be. It's, you know, that you went through in these 5 pages of chat. What was going on?
They just wanted to know my background, I guess, is kind of what I was wondering.
Okay, and can you drop down the second half of the first page, please, Adam? And highlight that for us, please. Yeah, please. Are these different questions that, I mean, were posed to you in some way? I mean, tell us what that, like, what's LEO mean to you?
Law enforcement officer or military.
Okay, have you ever been, okay. Were these questions asked of you during the vetting process?
Yeah.
Okay, now, I don't see answers to the actual questions here in this chat. Why is that?
To be honest, I'm not sure why there wasn't answers in the chat.
Okay, fair enough. Go to, can you go to page 2, please, in the top half. And that's fine. You can just leave it. Boog Danny Bunyan, did you ever learn who that was? That person is?
Sort of, I wasn't.
Did you ever meet?
No.
Okay, fair enough. The exchange you had with that person indicated that the training for the most part is at my place in Jackson County. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and later, further down that page, you're asked about your views on cops and feds. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and then a person named Gunny asks you, what are your views on the NFA? Did you know what the NFA is?
Yeah.
What is that, Mr. Miller?
National Firearms Act.
Okay, and ATF, you know what the ATF is?
Yeah, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Okay, current administration and current political climate. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of questions here, but go to page 3 if you would. And here, is this your response that we see at the top of the page?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I still respect cops and what they do, but there's definitely an issue with them abusing their power. I also feel a lot of them follow orders over upholding the Constitution. Not saying all of them, but some of them definitely do. NFA is definitely the worst thing Reagan did. Talking about President Reagan there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm against any sort of gun control besides basic background checks, I guess. Okay, that's information you provided to them, right?
Yep.
Okay. At the bottom, at the bottom of the page there, Boog Daddy Bunyan talks about both parties are the same socialist pigs who hate the Constitution, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the 4th page if you would. And, down a little bit, please, Adam. Okay, at one point in this chat, Gunny states, because constitutionally speaking, every gun law is an infringement and cops should be tried for treason along with just about every politician in office right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then Boo Daddy Bunyan, a little bit further down the page, comments, there are only two constitutional law enforcement agencies, County Sheriff's Department and US Marshals. Everything else is unconstitutional. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And if you can go to the next page, please. Top of the page, he continues, but even some sheriffs are traitors. Well, any really, if they enforce gun laws, is that correct?
Yeah.
I think just below that, you're asked, what do you, Josh, what do you think this group is about? And your response is, I think it's a group of guys working to prepare for the boog or anything else we need to revolt against. I'm not going to act like I know a bunch of shit, because to be honest, I don't, and that's why I'm here trying to learn and prepare. And then Boo Daddy Bunyan replied, well, do you know about the cabal or NWO? What is the N? Do you know what NWO means?
Not entirely sure, no.
Okay. And then at the bottom of the page there, he writes, because I got news for you, Trump is part of it, just like Obama, Biden, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Reagan, and every president since Lincoln besides Kennedy and Carter. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then the last page, Boo Daddy Bunyan says, I'll send you some links on Facebook tomorrow, man, that will blow your effing mind. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you do any training with anybody from the Wolverine Watchman?
I went to one training.
Okay, can you tell us where that was?
I was in Bonneville.
Okay. When you got there, what month of the, was this in 2020?
Yeah, 2020.
What month of the year was it? Or what month was it?
June, it was June or July.
Okay, and what year was it?
2020.
Okay, and when you went there, do you know whose place it was you went to? Okay, and did you go there? Did you go there by yourself or with somebody else?
I drove there by myself.
Okay, was Mr. Wyckoff there?
Yes.
Okay, do you see anybody in court today that you recognize that was there also? Can you tell us who that is and where he's seated? Okay,
Sorry, I'm sorry. I saw Paul, right? Paul
Okay.
Miller,
where's Paul seated?
right there.
Okay, what's he wearing?
A blue shirt.
Okay, identifying Mr. Bellar for the record, you know.
Will so reflect.
Did you know Mr. Bellar before that day?
No, I did not.
Did you ever met him before? Okay. Who else was there that you knew?
I wouldn't say I really knew anybody there other than that.
Okay. How long were you there in Fowlerville?
It was decently short, few hours.
And what kind of things were done there?
Weapons handling in a car.
Okay, had you ever done any training like that before?
I've never done any training before.
Did you, when you went there, did you bring any weapons with you?
I did.
Okay, did you shoot one over there?
Yes.
Okay, and did you do the vehicle exercise?
No, I never did.
Okay.
Exercise.
Did you see it being done?
Yeah.
Okay. Show you video, Mr. Miller, and you can watch it, and I'll ask you a couple of questions. Were you there when that was done?
From what I remember, yes.
Okay, and did you recognize anybody in that video that you knew or you met there?
I think that was Paul and Brandon.
Okay. After that training, did you do anything in terms of changing your membership status with the Wolverine Watchmen?
Immediately after, no.
No, anytime after.
Yeah.
Okay, and in August, in fact, August 19th, did you send everybody a message on Wire?
Yeah.
And I approach you with this judge.
Yes.
You remember sending this message out on a Wire application that you were connected to through the Wolverine Watchman?
Yes, I do.
Okay, is that accurate representation of what you sent?
Yes.
Move for admission of 189, Judge.
No objection.
No objection. Your Honor.
Stand objection.
189's admitted.
It's already been admitted. 189's already been admitted.
Oh, it's already been admitted.
Yeah.
Actually, can you take that down for just a second? Give me 176, please.
And miss.
You ever seen that before?
Yes, I have.
Where'd you see that for the first time?
The training in Fowlerville.
Who handed that out?
I can't remember who handed it out.
Okay, and the things on it, I mean, how would you describe this, Mr. Miller?
Code words.
Okay, and at the bottom of the page there, it says OPSEC is a must. Is that correct?
Yes.
You know what OPSEC is?
No.
Okay. Let's turn to August. You sent a message out that you just read it, and it's, I think it was admitted 189, Judge. That's correct. Can you bring that up, please, Adam? Did you leave the group?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen on the jury why you left the group?
I left the group because I did not feel comfortable with what was going on. The place for me to be.
What made you feel uncomfortable, Mr. Miller?
There was a worry about Ed being in the group,
Okay, anything else?
and I guess just didn't feel like I should be around anymore. Comfortable with it.
Did the code words have anything with your decision to leave the group?
Yeah,
Okay, tell us about that. Did that cause you any concern?
a little bit, yeah.
How, and tell us in what way?
I just felt like there was something going on that I didn't want to be a part of. And I didn't know what was going on.
Okay, looking at the message here, that's what you just looked at a little bit ago. This is your message to the Wolverine Watchman, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and I think you say, in light of what happened yesterday, I'm gonna stop here for a minute. Was there something that happened yesterday, the day before you sent this?
Yeah, this was the day after there was a scare for a Fed being in the group
How did you learn about that?
because some police officers showed up to Paul's old house.
And how did you learn about, and were you there
Through
when,
the chat.
when the police officers got?
No, it was through the chat that I heard about it.
Okay, and who on the chat was talking about police officers being at Paul's old house?
I think it was most of the group.
Who brought that to the group's attention? Hey, there's been police officers at the old house. You remember?
I do not remember.
Fair enough. Okay, so you learn about the police officers inquiring you remember whose house it was?
Paul's.
Okay, at Paul's old residence. And you say, in light of what happened yesterday and some prior things, I've decided to leave. I don't think I'm as committed as y'all. I'm pretty busy and I have a little differing opinion on some stuff. You are a great group of guys and it was a pleasure getting to know all of you. I'd still like to remain in contact. Most of you know where to reach me. If you need anything, at Leroy Jenkins is always able to reach me. Who is that?
Max.
Okay. If you want proof of my background, so you know I'm clean, what did you mean by that?
Because they were asking for everybody in the group to provide basically a pay stub or something to prove that they were not a Fed.
Okay. I can get it to you. I'll just be gone this weekend and nothing against any of you. That's your message to them. Is that correct? Okay. I mean, were you concerned at all about leaving the group?
I was a little concerned, yeah, because I didn't know, I had never seen anybody leave. And
Tell the jury why you were a little concerned.
I hadn't seen anybody leave the group and I didn't really know what the group was about, I would say. And I didn't know the full intent of the group.
Okay, I mean, but I guess I understand that, but were you concerned for yourself or something else, or
Yeah, I was concerned for myself a little bit.
your safety, or, you know, was it?
Objection leading.
Let me rephrase. What I'm trying to get you to do, Mr. Miller, is tell the jury like what you feared or what you were concerned about. And were you concerned about losing money? Were you concerned about social status? Were you concerned about your own personal welfare? You know, what was it you were concerned about?
My main concern was I didn't know, obviously something to me seemed like there was an issue with, I mean, all the worry about feds and everything, and I didn't know how violent they were, what they were up to, and so I was concerned if there was something actually going on, I guess, for my safety. So
Okay, so the first line is, in light of what happened yesterday, would you call that the triggering event to your exiting the group?
it was an easy excuse to get out.
Okay. And had you thought about getting out before that happened?
I had thought about leaving, I would say, since I got in the group.
Yeah. Very much. I'll yield the witness.
Miller, how are you this afternoon?
Good, how are you?
Remember Paul, right?
Yes, sir.
You saw Paul on July 26, 20 in the Fowlerville training, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's the last time you ever saw Paul in person, correct?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Anything?
Mr. Miller, I've just got a couple of quick questions for you. when you were going through the vetting, I believe it was Exhibit 33, they were asking you some questions, asked you your thoughts on the Constitution, on the military, on the current administration. Do you recall that? And they were kind of asking these questions to kind of get a feel for you. Do you recall that?
Yeah,
Do you remember the last part of that exhibit that was shown to you? I think it took you, when Mr. Ralston said, can you read this? It was the very last piece. I think it took 30 seconds or less, right?
yeah.
And what did it ask you? Do you recall? What did it tell you? Can we, Agent Arliss, can I have that up, please? Yeah, just the last page. I think we can start there, and this will only take us. While he's pulling that up, they were talking to you about constitutional things, correct?
Yes,
People were expressing their ideas as to what's constitutional and what's not, correct?
yes.
Can you read for me the last thing that you're told here from Boot Daddy Bunyan? Can you see that from there?
I will send you some links on Facebook tomorrow, man, that will blow your effing mind.
Would you agree with me that that sounds like somebody trying to give you an opinion of something,
Yeah,
trying to educate you perhaps
yeah,
on maybe their constitutional views? Would you agree with me that there's nothing in here inciting violence in any way? Would you agree with me that nothing on this exhibit incited violence in any way?
I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Anything,
Nothing
Mr.
further.
Johnson?
Sir, the prosecution kept saying Wolverine Watchman. You were in the bonfire chat, correct?
Yes, sir.
And all your messages were in the bonfire chat, correct? That we talked about?
This was the Wolverine Watchman betting chat right here.
And then you went to the bonfire chat.
Yes,
And the training in Fowlerville was discussed in the bonfire chat.
I mean, I can't really remember, to be honest.
When you said you were leaving the group, you did that in the bonfire chat.
When I left the group, yes, it was in the bonfire chat.
Okay. When you were first asked if you saw anybody in the courtroom that was there, you said the name Pete.
I
Correct?
just misspoke.
Well, no, but you said the name Pete, right?
Yes,
You never met Pete.
no,
You never talked to Pete.
no.
You were never in any chat with Pete.
I think I was in a chat with Pete. I'm sorry. I might be mixing people up right now.
How did you even know? You know what? No further question.
Anything further?
No, thank you, Judge.
Thank you, sir. You can step down. Okay. We'll see everybody.